Hello, welcome to this your channel of the Meta Eurofan. Text me. Greece re-emerged again in the competition thanks to the ending and viral proposal offered to us by Marina Satti, with which she will get an outstanding 11th place in the final ranking, and then having overcome the failure suffered from 2 years ago. With this result, there was not any doubt about their participation at the contest, aiming to keep showing the best of the Greek musical talent to the rest of Europe. For this, let's check out who was the next artist that had the opportunity to wave the Hellenic colors in Basel. Here we go. For today's episode, I'm going to review the Greek entry for Eurovision 2025, which has been represented by the singer Klavdia with the song Asteromáta, which in English translates as Starry-Eyed Girl. On talking beyond starry eyes, she will have the chance to shine like a true star by showcasing all her talent. Without further delay, let's move on with the review. First of all, we'll start by reviewing her biography and career before leaving the Eurovision experience on Swiss soil. Klavdia Papadopoulou, mostly well known by her name, is a Greek indie pop singer and songwriter coming from the city of Asteromáta, one of the suburbs belonging to the metropolitan area of the Greek capital, Athens. She starts to get noticed in 2017 at the age of 15 when she participated in the auditions for the 5th season of the Greek version of Got Talent, although she would not get selected in that show. She will try it the following year in the 5th season of the Greek version of The Voice, where she will be ultimately in, having as her coach to Elena Paparizou, which apart of being one of the most renowned Greek singers as we know, was the Eurovision winner 20 years ago during the edition held in Kiev, Ukraine. Klavdia will advance through all the phases of the competition, reaching to the final show, where she will end up in a four-way tie in the 4th place with other 3 finalists. Her time during the singing competition will help her to get a record deal in 2020 with a renowned Greek record label, thus starting her musical career as an artist with the release of many singles from 2022. She will have her first attempt to represent Greece at Eurovision at the end of that same year, after being one of the 6 shortlisted artists in the internal selection process to select the representative that will attend the contest that will be held the following year in Liverpool, United Kingdom. In that time, she participated with the song Holy Water, but her proposal would not advance to the second round of the process, ending up selected Victor Bernicus, as we already know. Even despite the failed attempt, she remained focused on her music, working in what it will be her first EP officially released in early last year, without dismissing the possibility of representing her country someday at the contest, although she will not imagine that she will have soon the chance to do so. Let's see then how her Eurovision adventure begins. Normally, we would imagine that the Balkan country will opt for an internal selection once again, as it has been usually done since many editions ago, but then there was a change of plans. Shortly after confirming its participation in mid-September of last year, the Greek broadcaster made a surprise by announcing the organization of a neo-national final that will be named Ethnikos Telikos, that will select both the artists and the song that will represent the country in Basel. And I say that it is a huge surprise because while the broadcaster had organized mixed formats with an internally selected artist and organizing the song selection in a televised show, it was the first time in more than 20 years that was fully organizing a fully open national final. The submission period will be open in mid-October of last year for the Greek artists and songwriters who wanted to take part in the process. In this case, the artists had to be Greek citizens, have a permanent residence, or have Greek ancestors, while the songwriters could be from any nationality, closing it by early last November. After the deadline, it was known that 187 proposals were received by the broadcaster, which will be later reviewed by an expert panel to select 12 contestants that will compete in the national final with 3 backup artists. The selected artists will be officially announced in early last January to get together with the release of their candidate songs, being Klavdia among the chosen ones, where they were participating some artists that already had previous links with the Eurovision world. In one hand, there was the Greek Cypriot singer Konstantinos Christoforou, who represented Cyprus at Eurovision in at least 3 times. First in 1996 during the edition held in Oslo, Norway. Then later in 2002 was part of the Greek Cypriot boy band One during the edition held in Tallinn, Estonia. And third after in 2005 once again as a soloist during the edition held in Kiev, Ukraine, who was participating in the national final together with the Greek singer Kostas Karafotis. While in the other hand, there was also the Greek singer Kali Georgelis, currently well known as Shanova Shan, who represented Greece at Junior Eurovision in 2005 together with Alexandros Chontas during the edition held in Hasselt, Belgium, who was participating in the national final as a soloist. The televised show took place in late last January, where the winner will be determined with a combination of the votes of a national jury, an international jury, and a televote, with a weight of 25% for both juries and the remaining 50% for the televote. After all the finalists had the chance to present their proposals live, the announcement of the winner was made in a slightly unusual way, by nominating the 3 most voted artists to the center of the stage, in which there were the 2 big favorites of the edition, Klavdia and Evangelia, to announce thereafter that Klavdia would end up being selected as the winner of the national final. The full voting results were presented after the end of the show, where it could be seen that she was the absolute favorite for the national jury and the televote, while she was the 3rd most voted artist for the international jury, which will allow her to score the points needed to get the victory, 2 points ahead of Evangelia. This result will eventually help her to get, after 2 attempts, the right of representing Greece on the main stage of Basel. Shortly after her victory, she will embark into recording a production of the official music video for the proposal that will be released in last mid-March. Voice and emotion to sing to her ancestors. Let's see a little more about this proposal with which she had defended the Hellenic colors at the contest. Talking about the melody, it is a pop ballad and sounds quite majestic with some influences of Balkan pop, although very subtle undoubtedly. Klavdia's voice is soft and quite powerful at the same time from beginning to end, and which is also boosted with the backing vocals in the chorus by giving it a certain epic character. It is clear that she has an extraordinary vocal talent that gets your attention at first listening, in addition to the experience she has had after being in the different singing competitions in which she has participated. The lyrics have been written fully in Greek by Klavdia herself together with the musical group Arcade, which is part of her teamwork and that has composed the majority of her musical repertoire to date. In the other hand, it will not be the first time for them on composing a Greek entry for Eurovision, having done it previously in 2020 and 2021, being co-authors of the songs Supergirl and Let's Dance, both of them performed by the Greek-Dutch singer Stefania. The first of them could not compete due to the cancellation of the contest that year, as we know, and the second was the one she ended up performing in the competition held in Rotterdam, Netherlands. About the context behind it, the lyrics are inspired in the Pontic Greeks genocide during the Ottoman Empire era, according to Klavdia, being herself a descendant of this community of Greek people that used to live in the historic region of Pontus, which is currently part of modern Turkey. However, this topic is still a very controversial matter nowadays, as it is a historic fact that is not widely recognized worldwide, and in fact, Turkey has repeatedly denied the truthfulness of this fact, just as it has with the Armenian or Syrian genocide, so it is clear that the song would not be accepted a controversy. Apart from this drama, the song talks about all those refugees, both from Greece and other nationalities, that keep that long with its homeland no matter where they are. Reading the lyrics more in detail, previously translated initially, that is essentially a metaphorical dialogue between a mother and her lost daughter, the latter one described a text-starry-eyed girl, appealing to the song's title, in which they are comforting each other while they dream of reuniting someday in the land they still consider their homeland. About the message, the track intends to pay homage to all those people that have been forced to leave their country of origin in search of a better future, something that many people will surely identify with, especially in these turbulent times when there are so many wars happening around the world, transmitting above everything a message of hope and resilience. Having seen more about this interesting proposal, let's see now how it has been portrayed on the contest described on it through the official music video. The plot begins with Klavdia singing the song's intro in front of the big campfire that burns behind her until the image vanishes for a few seconds. With the first verse, there is a succession of different shots in a cinematographic style. First of a dry tree covered with a black fabric, then of a group of people dressed in black, which would be mourning in this case, as there is a woman crying in silence while other woman next to her tries to console her. I guess in this case that it is the mother described on the lyrics itself, and of Klavdia singing in the shore of the sea with a sunset in the background. By the first chorus, the succession of shots continues, of Klavdia being now next to a temple in ruins, of the many ones all over Greece, of a countryman that cuts the grass with a sickle while some sparrows fly over him, where it comes to a tension shot in which a feather of one of the sparrows falls in the shoulder of the countryman, making him to turn his side up, witnessing more birds flying in circles. This scene, although simple, it carries a quite impactful meaning because it will represent somehow those people that are running away from the danger in their homeland to get shelter in a safer place. The following shots still keep its simplicity and its deep symbolism. First of a girl that picks another feather from the sparrows, maybe representing that starry-eyed girl as described in the lyrics. Then later of an abandoned open suitcase in the middle of a stream that I see as a representation of all those things that were left behind during the process of escape. And thereafter of Klavdia with a group of women that wear traditional lockpicks in the middle of a field. The scene slightly changes with the second verse, singing to the same mother of before, getting warm through a small fireplace inside her house, alternating once in a while with some of the shots previously seen, together with other ones of two people wearing camouflage in the middle of a forest. By the second chorus, the close-ups of Klavdia are kept, alternating with other ones in which the mother is now sitting outside the house of the two camouflage people from before walking by the forest, and of Klavdia with a group of women in front of the big campfire singing at the beginning of the music video. Towards the end of it, there are some brief instant shots of the camouflage people together with the girl from before that it is now holding a lamp, to later see them shortly after running by the forest, apparently chasing the girl, probably by representing those chasers that are going after the ones who have escaped, as well as the dry tree from before now on fire, which can be interpreted as a direct reference to a genocide, finishing the performance just like it started, with Klavdia singing in front of the big campfire while the shot is headed up to the sky. Prior to the release of the official music video, she had the opportunity to present her proposal with her participation in the Greek national final. Let's see then how was her live performance during her time at Ethnikos Telikos. Recalling the staging in the national final, the performance is initially focused on close-ups of her while she performs the song, being technically motionless in the center of the stage with a navy blue background in the visual graphics. It is clear that the intention is to put focus in her vocal performance by making the viewer to get immersed little by little into the track. When it gets to the chorus, the shot starts to get back slowly to show wider shots, seeing in the process a group of female dancers doing synchronized moves with their torsos around her, maybe like representing those people in a tribulation state and holding a long streak of fabric at the floor. You can also see more details of the costumes, with Klavdia wearing a cream colorful dress, while the female dancers wear matching outfits of the same color. Then there is a brief close-up of her while she is still singing and appears a sparkle in the visual graphics, to later change the shot again at the end of the chorus by showing a general shot in which you can see that the female dancer dancers had done a spiral on the floor with a strip of fabric, with them pretending to be holding on that fabric in several points of the spiral. While the lighting becomes predominantly red, the sparkle from before disappears and there is now a succession of red clouds in the visual graphics. The dynamics remains quite similar during the second verse until the second chorus, in which the synchronized moves from the female dancers are seen again. At the end of the chorus, there are thunderstorms in the visual graphics, and shortly after, the female dancers get off the floor, lifting up slowly with the fabric, finishing the performance with a close-up of Klavdia while the sparkle seen before reappears again. Having seen this performance, what definitely comes to attention is her vocal performance that has been flawless, without any doubt, but regarding the concept developed for the staging with the female dancers, I was not that convinced. Maybe they could be a somewhat abstract representation of the lyrics, but it is that, taking into account that it's her voice what captivates you mostly, the rest probably remains secondary without giving something in addition, or at least it is the feeling I get without having idea of the full background behind this staging. What it has been clear is that it had widely convinced both the Greek jury and the public, which has been the key to get the victory in the national final. For the staging in Basel, Klavdia had commented in advance that it would completely change compared to what was presented in the national final, and that was evident with the first rehearsals, in which you mostly see Klavdia in a rocky prop from where she will perform the track, also seeing a woman that will take part in the performance, although it is not clear in which way at first sight, implying that the female dancers that were in the national final will be dismissed. She is now wearing a black dress, the lighting is featuring white and warm tones, while there were initially not many clues about the visual graphics. Watching her live performance in the second semi-final, it begins with the stage completely in dark, while a spotlight is on Klavdia from a sort of pier while she performs the song's intro. With the first verse, there is a shot play with similar close-ups like in the national final, with the stage lightening up in some moment. By the first chorus, the visual graphics start to appear, showing initially a white stripe in the middle, which is reflected in the leg strings of the stage floor as well, giving the impression that she is at the shore of the sea. But shortly after, the white stripe goes on fire, which is noticeable as well in the size of the pier, dancing and lighting in red and warm tones, as well as a rain of burning pieces and the woman appearing looking to where Klavdia is, while both raise their arms to the side. In a wider shot, Klavdia is now seen walking to the rock at the edge of the pier, and also the woman walking towards the pier. I can imagine that she represents either the mother described in the lyrics or a personification of her ancestors. While the fire continues, seeing for instance many doves flying in the midst of that fire, and shortly after they extend their arms like wanting to grab each other and another without losing eye contact for a few seconds, which makes it look like a somewhat ethereal scene, which is much reinforced with the visual graphics showing a tree in flames like the one seen in the music video, but much bigger and with more intense fire. For the second verse, everything seems to calm down for moments after a change of lighting in blue tones, while Klavdia and the woman are holding hands for some instance until the woman ultimately ends up leaving the scene and getting back to the close-ups of Klavdia. With the second chorus, there are more wide shots of her with visual graphics showing what it looks like a female sculpture with many doves around it. When I saw the performance for the very first time, I did not have it clear what was the reference behind it, but after seeing it in subsequent times, I realized that it represents something very Greek. It is a caryatid. As it is well known, the caryatids are female sculptures that serve as columns or supports, being the most famous ones the six that were in the Erection Temple inside the Acropolis Citadel in Athens, five of them in the Acropolis Museum in Athens, and the sixth one in the British Museum in London. And this is very representative in this context because it would represent the refugees for the Greeks, as like them the caryatid is far away from her homeland and family, the remaining caryatids. Following on with the performance, there is a moment in the second chorus in which the scene gets much more apocalyptic, with a vortex appearing around the pier, while the visual graphics show a somewhat volcanic soil from where emerge what it seems like many lava columns. And just before finishing the performance, the stage gets completely dark for a few seconds to later see Klavdia with a white dress while the visual graphics feature a starry sky. I have to say that it has been one of the most outstanding performances of the night, because despite she has opted for a likewise simple staging, it got my attention all the time to the point that it has generated an impact in a very good way. Definitely it has been a total twist compared to what we saw in the national final. Thankfully they took note, and I got so impressed with all the symbolisms expressed through the staging that even I thought that it could be perfectly the dark horse of the edition that could give the surprise. I did not have any doubts on her qualification to the grand final, although during the announcement of the qualifiers there were moments of fear and tension because Greece was not being nominated yet until the very last moment in which they announced her as the 10th and last qualifier. Thereafter, during the grand final, with the reveal of the voting results, Klavdia will place 8th for both the jury and the public, which would allow her to finally get a notable 6th place in the final ranking. Making a summary of all the comments, I think that the Greek entry for this year is fantastic. I consider that the proposal has a good message with which many can get identified with a quite important meaning for the Greeks, although I initially thought, after seeing in the international final, that it lacked an extra punch to captivate the audience in the rest of Europe. But after what I saw in the contest, there is no doubt that it has been a flawlessly presented proposal and that has surprised by far. In fact, I thought at first that this proposal could only be enjoyed by seeing it live, but as long as I have been discovering its musical and artistic value, I have been encouraged to listen to it more regularly. The final result has not only improved the one achieved from last year, but many are referring it as the most Greek proposal ever sent in all the participations of Greece in the history of the contest, even beyond the only Greek victory today from already 20 years ago. About Klavdia, her time of Eurovision had just marked the beginning of her new era as a musical artist, because right before the grand final she will make the official release of her debut studio album titled precisely as her entry. And until recently she has been touring in these summer months by Greece and Cyprus, with more dates to be announced for the upcoming months, so it is quite sure that she will be quite busy promoting her album. This has been the Greek proposal of this year for the contest. What opinion deserves in your case? Do you think it was an interesting proposal, or otherwise it did not get your attention too much? Let me know in the comments down below that we can follow up the discussion. And this is it for today's episode. Don't forget to like this video if it has been of your taste, start bringing me your support and helping me to reach more people. Subscribe to my channel if you have not done it yet, and leave notifications by the bell and find me through my social media. Take care and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.